morning, everyone, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche. I am the badass Buddha Lori Monaco, coming to you from a beautiful southern Connecticut. And happy Thursday. Welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche.
Hola, mi gente, aquí con la Margarita, Miss Amazing, your gladiator guru. Happy Thursday. Can you believe we're already halfway through in the halfway mark of the year, of the month, of the
I
year?
know.
That's some scary stuff. Well, I'm coming to you from Spring Hill, Florida, where it's hot and hot and hotter throughout as the day goes longer. It like heats up. But good morning. We're happy to be here with you today. No spills in my cafe.
This morning. Good morning, Melissa. Look at Melissa's the first one.
Hey, congratulations on your daughter's graduation.
Yay. Wonderful. All right. So, your hair looks really cute. It's like adorable today.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
always
Yeah,
nice when we actually put
blow
effort in.
dry it. Yeah, I haven't blow dried my hair in so long, and I did yesterday. And then this necklace I made last night.
Oh, that's right. You said you were making something. Are those buttons?
So all buttons, and then the bracelet. Just a
Oh
simple
my God.
button.
How'd you get that thing? That's a big, gigantic button.
Yes. It's made out of coconut.
Wow.
And then they put the glaze on it. So that was good. Good morning, Leanne. And then these are just different size buttons with the silver on it. And I'm really happy with it. I just got to get the clasp. But yes.
Is that what happens when you hang out with your granddaughter?
My granddaughter.
Ordinarily talented and creative.
I get stimulated. That's what I told her.
The two creative minds.
So yeah, and and it's just felt, but I loved it, and I love buttons. I just don't sew, but it's a beautiful morning.
What's the one in the middle? The
silver button. They're all buttons.
Oh, it's a button too, like a legit button.
It's a silver button.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
And then it all the way up here they're red, and to the end. But then I put in some black ones.
Wow.
So it's white felt with black felt. And then it's just tie. See? It's just tie. Look, different color ties. That is look sloppy now until I put the clips on it. But you know what? We can make anything that's beautiful. That's why my main question in my journal is, if you can be anything, what would you wear? Because what you choose to wear, what caused you, what makes you flow, that's your true essence right there. So I like to make things that makes me smile. And here we are. Here we are smiling and shit. Every time you laugh, you burn calories. So just laugh, darling.
Of course, my kid says to me, my kid is flying from Australia, so she'll be here tomorrow. But she sends me a text and says she's in Auckland, New Zealand, and they're getting ready to go to. That was one of her stopovers, and she's like, "Hey, can I talk for a bit? There's an issue with the plane, so there's a delay." And I'm going, "Oh my God!" Of all times, I can't talk to her. I'm like, I'm doing my show.
You can talk to her.
No, she just wants to kill time. I know. I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure that it's not an issue. So we'll do that. I know.
Hola, milagritos, mi amorcito. Yes. I know. It's always like that. It's always that. That's why we have to brace ourselves and cover ourselves every morning, put our armor on, because if Murphy's law is so in effect and so in your face right now. If anything can go wrong, it will, because that's the spiritual warfare we're in. So we have to, like my aunt used to tell me since we were young, mira Margarita, ponte mucha vaselina antes de salir de la casa para que todo te resbale. She says, Margarita, make sure you put on, not literally, but much Vaseline all over you, so that when you leave your home, everything you don't need that's not for you will just slide right off, slide right away. And we got to do that. Sometimes we walk out into Charlotte's Web, and then we're just fighting within all of that right there, and it's not even our battle. We could have went around it or done anything, but that's it makes a segue into what we're going to talk about after the mantra. But sometimes we see it, we know it's there, and we still walk right to it. So I think awareness, accountability, and action, those AAA words are so important, and we treat them like the redheaded stepchild sometimes, because we don't want to know what's going on. So it means we're not aware. We know, but we don't know.
You've been really blessed. Like you have some your family members, between your grandmother and your father, have had such incredible insight. Like I was just, as you're talking about what your grandmother's saying, I'm
No, my
saying,
aunt, my father's oldest sister. That was
your aunt. But even still, like your grandmother was very influential in the sense, like with the coffee and the conversation. And I mean, my sister might be able to remember better because she's older. Like I feel like I missed out being towards the youngest of my family. Everybody was much older. People died off when I was just a little kid. But I don't remember having family members that had insight to share, like that had words of wisdom that would sit you down. You always hear that story about, like, oh, I would sit with my grandmother on the front porch and she would share this wisdom. I don't recall that. But again, like I said, I was, I think 9 when my grandfather died, and on my mom's side, and 14 when my grandmother died. But so maybe my sister could elaborate, but I feel like there really wasn't any wisdom shared necessarily. So that makes me think that it's important for me to be that player in my family dynamic, to be that person.
Absolutely. And I think that's why we're reminded of certain things in certain seasons in our life, because now it's time for us to pick up the torch. Maybe it's us to cut down the tree and carve out the torch. But it's time. It's like, that's why I love reading and writing. And that's why I'm a storyteller, because I was raised amongst them, whether they were drunk or not, they were telling stories. And my father always gave you the visual and sound effects when he told a story. So that's why he could tell a story 100 times in different seasons of our lives, and we'll sit there and be in awe as though it was the first. Because you go, no, mira, lo cogí, le hice, pa, pa. So it was always amazing. And like when my siblings and I get together and we talk about daddy's storytelling, there was always seeds of wisdom and just the sound effects, and I don't know, it was all beautiful in moments that were like, but yeah, storytelling is the most, that's lasted through generations, through the beginning of time, is sitting around your elders and your ancestors and listening to the stories unfold, and the wisdom, the seeds of wisdom just planted in between the sentences. And I miss that. I miss sitting around older people and just listening to their stories, and be surprised when they curse. Because when you see them real old and they like, fuck this shit, you're like, oh my God. But it makes it all the more real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree. All right. Well, let's set our intention and we'll get going with the conversation today. So as always on Viva, we want you to go throughout your day being intentional. Make your day intentional. Be very focused on what it is that you want to create for yourself today, the person that you want to be, and set that intention. And if it doesn't go in the way that you want it to, you can always change it. That's the beauty of it. This is yours. You're the one who sets it in place. And always back it up with
gratitude. Be grateful in the simplest, most smallest things in life. Like yesterday, I found this bag of hard root beer candy. Oh my God, it brought me back a fucking flood of memories of childhood. You know? Be grateful for the little things you see. Sometimes I bought it because it was in Hobby Lobby. So it was like $1 something. But sometimes I'll see something and it just makes me smile because it takes me back to say, oh, this is why I'm enough. And I'll take that the smallest memory to take you back, to break years of habits that we formed as think we know it all adults.
Good morning, Chanel. Good morning. We haven't seen you.
My two primas are Piri and Chanel.
Good morning. Desiree came on. Good morning. Good morning. And Nancy Green is in the house. Good morning, Nancy.
Nancy!
All right. So let's do our mantra. Say it loud. Say it proud. I am a disruptor. You muted Gladiator Guru, so there we go.
Because my daughter's getting her ice out the machine. I don't know if you can hear it in the background because I'm at my daughter's house. Say hello, Tiffany.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hi, Tiff.
Hi.
I am a disruptor.
I am unapologetically
Sorry, I don't
courageous.
make noise.
Shh, we're doing our mantra. Okay, just.
Oh my God.
He's
I
a
am
storyteller.
unapologetically courageous.
I am unapologetically courageous.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am spiritually grounded.
I am magically orgasmic.
Ole.
And I keep it real.
All day, no doubt.
That was funny. We're in the middle of it and she's talking.
Apologizing.
Oh, she was. She's
Yeah.
so cute. So good morning, Andrea Padro. Good morning.
Andrea Padro.
Everyone, don't forget, we really appreciate it when you like, share, follow, subscribe. We could always use more subscribers on our YouTube channel. We can always use more people. We love the idea of people just listening to us and hearing what we have to say, because the information that we've been going over with this whole entire year has been, for your growth and for our growth. So we love it when you like everything. So don't forget to also give us hearts too. So let us know that what we're talking about you relate to and it feels good to you. So today we're going to be talking about this is why. That's the title of today. Tuesday we were talking about who we are with regards to our behaviors and habits, and we asked you to really be honest and not lie to yourself and list your behaviors and habits, good and bad. They don't have to all be bad, but list them so that you're aware of them, because you don't know what needs to change unless you become aware of what needs to change. So list them, and then we wanted you to, so that you know who you are. And then now we're going to talk about why this is the way it is. I mean, how many things have you done in your life where you said to yourself, why didn't I take more chances? Why did I play small? Or why did I choose that person in my life? And we ask those why questions because we want to understand why we've made bad choices, why we've made, wrong choices. Good morning, Alicia. Alicia's here.
Alicia.
So, and the why comes, that's what we're going to talk about today, is the why. Not that we need to focus on our past, but it does give us some comfort to understand why we do the things that we do. And again, it's an awareness so that we don't repeat the patterns, that the only way to break these patterns is to kind of understand where they came from, like deal with it, let that go, and then say, okay, I'm choosing not to do this anymore. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the why.
Alicia, baby.
All right. So basically the why is this. We've talked a little bit about this before, but it's, habits, behaviors, beliefs, everything, who we are, our personality has come from our experiences in life. There's arguments of whether or not it's solely nurture or is nature, like do genetics play roles? And the research shows that it's both, but nurture really does play a huge role. So they'll go with nature when they say things like when they've done studies on twins, or adopted children, where they do not have the personalities at all of the adopted parents, but they end up taking the personality of the actual birth parent. So that really connects it to the fact that this is nature. But at the same time, there's plenty of other children who've been adopted by parents that have taken on the role of their adopted parents, the personality. So then that would be nurture. So all these studies that they've done, really the only thing that's conclusive is that it's both, And what we like to say, though, is we like to give excuses for things. And when we say that it's genetic or we've inherited it, oh, then I can't be changed, So I really like to tell people not to focus so much on what potentially is inherited, but the nurture part and the fact that you become aware of it. So why are we just going to accept the fact that something can be inherited? It's like saying, well, I got diabetes because, it runs in my family. Well, you probably also didn't eat well. You're overweight. You didn't exercise. You made poor choices. So it's not so much that the genes made you get diabetes. It was your choices that triggered the genes. So if you feel that you've inherited some bad mojo from your parents and, from family members, like about how you live your life, you need to look at that and take stock and say, okay, I might have inherited it, but it doesn't mean I can't alter it. I have to make the choice. So just saying, well, it is what it is. I'm an addict, or it wasn't so shocking that I became an alcoholic, or I'm a loser, or this or that, because that's how my family members were. Then you just set yourself up to be successful in that mentality. So we're asking you to look beyond that. And while we are going to look into the why, the why is only here to just really understand you understand how you were created, and then move forward from that.
Yes, because once we get past the why, then the main focus is how and when. I think, yes, how are we going to flip it, and when are we going to continue on this road, and when we're going to realize that we are brilliant and we are deserving, and we want to travel a path of the unknown, but that leads to our true abundant self. And that's, I think, the best follow-up we can do.
Exactly. So we want you to think back, think about your personality. Think about all those beliefs and behaviors and habits that you've written down, or at least not wrote down, but you have it in your mind. Those pieces of you that you love, and those pieces of you that you don't like, that you wish you could change, that you've wanted to change for a very long time. All of these came about when they started from when you were a child. And it's interesting because the science has shown us that personalities are actually developed by the age of 7 years old. But that doesn't mean that that's it. If your personality is at 7 and you're a pushover, you're a people pleaser, that means you're going to live your whole life that way. It just means that it's going to be more challenging for you as you become an adult, and that if you want to change that, you have to become very fully aware of what you say, what you do, how you act, so that you can break those patterns. So basically what happens is, this is the way it works. We experience things in our life starting when we were babies. Our experiences, our interactions with people, anything that we experience, we create a feeling towards, we create an emotion to it, emotional connection. And then from there, we decide, we create an opinion or a judgment. We decide, do we like it? Do we not like it? Is this okay? Is this not okay? And even if we don't like it and it's not okay, it doesn't mean it can't stick with us. It just means that we have formed an opinion. Then we have thoughts on it. And as we get a little older, we think more. So let's say something happened and you didn't like it, but your mother told you that you have to just deal with it. There's the thought. Well, it's like, okay, I don't like it, but I was told I have to deal with it. And so from there, we make perceptions, how we perceive things. Well, if I don't like something, but my mother says that I have to deal with it, that means that I have to deal with it. And then subconsciously, it starts to sink in that anything that we don't really like, we just have to learn to deal with it. Then that affects our choices and our decisions going forward. So it creates this line. It's like one's attached to the other, attached to the other. Then those choices and decisions begin to affect our beliefs about ourselves, our beliefs about our environment, our relationships with people. Then those in turn affect our behaviors. And then those in turn, the more the behaviors, we do the behaviors over and over again, they become habitual. And the interesting thing is that at that point, we loop right back around, and all of that, those feelings, opinions, perceptions, thoughts, I have to keep looking at my notes because I can't remember these off the top. Our choices, our beliefs, behaviors, and habits then affect our experiences. So if we say, well, I didn't really care for that experience because I didn't like how I was treated, or, whatever, we'll avoid that experience, or we'll assume that that next experience is similar to something we've already experienced. And we're going to assume that we're going to have the same feeling afterwards. So we automatically start futurizing. We start to say, well, I rode my bike and I fell and I hurt myself. And I went to my dad to get comfort. And, he was saying that how, you're an idiot if you can't get back on that bike, and made me feel small. And now I believe that if I'm going to go onto that bike, I'm going to get hurt again. I'm not going to get, the affection I was looking for. And now I don't want to go on the bike. And it sets up this horrible loop, and it depends on how you're built. Some people look at it as a challenge and say, well, no, if you're saying I can't do it, I'm going to fight you.
Oh, that's a love language for others. That means your father knows you can do better. So get your ass up and start pedaling again. Like, what percentage in what you've read and in the research you did, what percentage of persons that hear that withdraw?
But
which one of them gets so wounded that they feel that they can't accomplish anything? It goes on to say that, because I'm sure that doesn't speak like for everybody, but
no. That's like one thing. It doesn't have to be like riding the bike. It could be
I know. I'm generalizing. Anything that is not giving you a trophy for participation, where we give trophies for participation. When we growing up, the Gen Xers, you're lucky you even got through it. You're lucky you didn't get slapped for losing. And so what I'm saying is, what you're saying holds a lot, because in our line of work, we've met a lot of people who will talk about that bike ride, falling, scraping their knee, and expecting, their parent to kiss their boo-boo so that they can feel better about themselves, and they didn't get kissed, and now they don't love me. So I was just wondering, what's the percentage in our country today that are in therapy, that are doing so many things now in their elder years because of that in their past, like in their formative years? Because then that's how we can better help people too, don't you think? If they're going to do a study on, well, this happened, and you don't have to be born tough. You just have to learn how to navigate the rough terrain. So hello, everybody. I love what you're writing, because what you're reading right now, because it probably is familiar to many, and many that will hear this after the fact.
Well, but think about it. You said that you were born with a sword in your hand, that you've always been a fighter. You've always stood up.
I was born with a sword in my hand. I've always been brave. Yeah. So when I hear...
But you grew up in a household where you saw a lot of that. And for you, because part of this is how you because of who you are. So it's true. Like, you were born with a sword in your hand. So you took the side of your experiences, You saw what was happening in front of you. You were also traumatized in that you were sexually assaulted when you were a child, and so you chose the path of, I'm going to fight. Like, I'm going to fight my way. I'm going to stand up for myself. So what you created were the feelings of standing up for myself, fighting for myself. And then you created an opinion based on that. And then you had thoughts on that. So from this point going forward, I am not going to lay down. I'm going to stand up for myself. I am not going to be a weak person. And then it created that. And then you had perceptions based on that. If somebody showed signs of weakness, it would bother you. It used to get you angry.
Mm-hmm.
And then you made choices. I don't want to be around people like that. I'm not going to stay shut. If somebody says something to me, I'm going to say it back. And then that was your belief, your behavior, and your habits. And you and your sisters all grew up together, but you have somewhat different personalities,
Absolutely.
So that's where that's the combination of the nature and the nurture piece come in. And it's why we are the way we are. We just have to look at that and say, okay, what are the parts that I could take from that experience that were great and keep it? And then what is it that I want to change? Because you're right. There are people out there that have been brutalized, traumatized, and became better and stronger as a result of it. And then there's other people who
that fell off a bike and got their knee scraped, and to them
that was it.
They don't fight for nothing because no one was there to protect me.
Exactly.
So, and let me tell you, however you choose to live your life, that's your business. It really is. What I don't like, and my opinionated side is coming right now, and to me, it's fact. We're living in an era of so much sensitivity. What I will not just sit around and listen to or participate in a conversation is because you fell off that bike, scraped your knee, and they told you, get up, no time for crying, get up. This is how we were. Get up. If you don't get up and dust yourself off, then that's it. I'm going to take your bike away, whatever. And then here they are 40 years later, and then somebody will say something, and then they're triggered over that one thing. And it's like, you know what? Me personally, I've been to hell and back on many occasions. I even waited in the waiting room for several hours and turned around. So I'm not that person you come to with that. We all know that if you've watched the show long enough. But what I'm saying is, just because you had a bad experience doesn't mean everybody should walk on eggshells around you.
Yes,
especially not me. Because if you share what you share, that's your business. I'm not going to tell you can't feel that way. What I'm telling you is I'm not participating in it. But then guess what happens? What has happened? Irises can be a witness because my family likes to call me mean and rude because I don't want to sit there and cater to you over something that you should have overcame already because you've accomplished so much in life. Why are you holding on to that? So, I mean, it's the scales will turn, I guess, in each individual's favor because everything the badass Buddha said, what she just read, is true. And I'm at the other side of my leaf in the season of the second half of my life to realize that, you know what? I know that I've never been a participant in that I'm triggered, you hurt my feelings type of deal. Because back then I just didn't care. Now I'm like, well, do you want to talk about it? Do you need a hug? And they're like, no, but then, okay, you don't want a hug. You don't want to talk about it. I don't want to continue to hear it. You see, it's a give and take now in life. It's not a just let them use you as a garbage disposal and then you give your best advice and then they come the next day with the whole same story. Like you never said anything. That's wasting my time, and my time is valuable. It's priceless, actually. That's the only thing I own that no one charges me tax on. So that's where you have to know what habits and patterns we got to break in order to build boundaries, to know what we will and will not tolerate, or whose energy we will not let permeate through ours and make us exhausted by just listening. And we all have them. We all, let me tell you, I'm a bag of of behaviors and habits that I got to drop off at the dump site. My load has been lightened over the years, over the last 2 years, right? 2.5 years. My load has been lightened more so than 2 years prior to that. But what I'm saying, it's a work in progress. I'll be a work in progress until my last breath. But the operative word here is that I am a work in progress. And that's how you have to celebrate yourself. When you confront a habit or a pattern that's not conducive to your life anymore, or to those around you whom you claim to love, then you have to start chipping away at it. You know, a lot of us can quit cold turkey. And we get that epiphany and the bright light comes out to us as though we're going to be zoomed up. And however it happens to you, embrace it. And look at it and say, oh, I did carry that for so long, but it's time to lay my load down. Don't berate yourself. Oh my God, I can't believe I carried that for 20 years. It was not worthy. No, it already happened. Whatever you lost, whatever you learned, whatever you gained, good or bad, already happened. You just realize the load, the unnecessary load, habits, patterns that you were carrying for years. So the only thing that ever matters in your life is the moment that you realize it. Okay? So you have to show up in your now. The present is all you have. Not yesterday, obviously. You can't fix anything yesterday. All you do is let that thought, if it was negative, run back and forth and wear and tear down the carpet in your brain. That's all it does. And then the anxiety of thinking about, oh my God, but what am I going to do tomorrow? And how's it going to be tomorrow? And who am I going to meet tomorrow? Hasn't happened yet. Because when tomorrow comes, you're thinking about the next day. So tomorrow will never really get here for you, right? Because every day that you are blessed with breath is your today. So if you're so riddled with anxiety thinking about tomorrow, it's never going to come. It's always going to be at the reach of your fingertips, so you can't grab it. And yesterday is gone. So what do? You're worrying. You're going through depression over yesterday, and you're suffering anxiety about the tomorrow that's never going to come. So here you are, fully dressed in the gift of life of now, and you're pissing it away. And then you want me to sit here and listen to you knowing that you're pissing it away because all you have is now. So you got to work on your you in your now and be fully present. And that's how you live abundantly. And you can actually wholeheartedly say, I am healthy. Because you are aware that where you are today. So when I talk about my stories from the age, well, I mean, I had a memory and I shared it with my dad, and he's like, how can you remember you were 3? And I remember it down to the pajama flowers I had on because they were traumatic events. And then you move forward with it. But you know what? They were things to teach me and to lead me to be the speaker that I am. The Badass Buddha and I were talking about this yesterday. Things that happen to you, basically they happen for you. And were they uncomfortable? Yes. Did they hurt? Yes. Do you wish that you didn't have to experience, see, or feel what you did as a child? You know what? Don't wish that. Because it'll either make or break you. And it's up to you to say, I was born on purpose. So this is happening for a reason. What am I supposed to learn from it? Instead of the woe is me, I can't believe I'm going through this again. How much more? Say, fuck my life. Here we go again. I guess I need another battle scar. You know, change the way you think about something. Unfuck your brain thoughts of victimization. Because when you stop that, and then you can start believing that, okay, I've been carrying this habit, it really hasn't served me for so long. Or maybe it did serve me for that season of my life, but I kept it on in reserve for just in cases. But it's really occupying too much space in your mind, in your heart, and in your soul. And remember, mind, body, soul, they're all together. So if you allow something to fester here, it's going to go and rot other places of you. So breaking a habit, patterns of your lifestyle. You know, I was talking yesterday, my daughter, I call her my ferocious chihuahua. She's upset over something. So it took a lot of us to just tell her, get your ass home yesterday, because she was ready to walk into the battlefield. And she said something, and I was like, yeah, that's how I was. And that's what you experience. And that's why you are the way you are. But things aren't like they used to. Remember, anyone here, show of hands, put your hands up. If you remember when we were in our teens, even in our 20s, and we would have a fight, a fist fight in the street, the cops would come, split us up, tell us to go home. That was it. Now they'll arrest you. So, and I had explained to her that things are different and for a reason. So instead of, just your energy you're giving away to somebody that you're so angry about. So sometimes you got to reel yourself in. Sometimes you got to say, oh, maron nemi, what am I doing? I'm better than this. My situation is better than the problem that I'm creating bigger than what it is. So you have to sit down and talk with yourself. You have to realize that if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Tomorrow's not promised for any of us. Today we could be sitting lovely. Tomorrow we can lose everything. And then what? We only have that instinct, that fighter and survivor instinct within us to build all over again if we have to, or to find the tribe that's going to help build our safe zone. So it's up to you. I was just saying, that's right, baby. If not now, when? And if not you, who? Are the only ones that can break that. And because you want to live abundantly, you want to live prosperously, and most importantly, you want to live in peace with yourself, with all the stuff you went through in your life, with all the experiences you acquired, with all of that hindered or made you. You have to know how to, we had a show called Organize to Eliminate. And if you organize all your memories, all your experiences, and say, I don't need this, but I don't need this. Even if you write them down like the Badass Buddha told you last show, even if you do all of that, and then you get a thick, fat red marker, those permanent, what are they called? Squibbies, what? I do this because they make fun of people with their eyebrows. And just put a line through it. That's eliminating. Or get little balloons. Treat yourself. Treat yourself to do something that it requires your full being to be present. Go buy white and red balloons and sit with yourself. And then let go. Every time you're going through something, check it off, let a red balloon go. That's that negativity, that red flag that's been waving in your face, and you say, oh, I need glasses. Sharpie. Thank you, Chanel. So however you deal with it, make it fun. Make it so that you are fully aware of what you're doing. You're in charge of the situation, and you are dedicating your moment to organize to eliminate what no longer serves you. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I've carried around this habit for so long. I believed in these mannerisms of mine, which I'm speaking for myself as well, that it became such a habit that I believed that it was sewn into the tapestry of my soul, when it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just that dead skin laying around that you never took the time out to take off. Go ahead, Badass.
The reason it's really important to understand the why, like why you are the way you are, or because if any of these whys are still around you, they can get in the way of growth. It could be certain people, and again, like triggers are just, triggers just are an indicator that you haven't got over something. But it's like your environment, the people around you. If you know that you want to change, if you know that you want to break certain habits, Like let's say you're not an alcoholic, but let's say you're like, you know what, I'm really trying to get a healthier lifestyle. I want to lose weight. I'm on diabetes medication and I want to get rid of that. So I want to change my diet, which includes, not drinking alcohol drinks anymore because they're actually quite sugary, a lot of them, right? So let's say that's what you want to do, or you want to eat healthier. If you are always around people that are drinkers and massive eaters of bad stuff, you're going to be more inclined to keep that behavior up. You're going to be more inclined to be like habitually go shopping and buy the foods that you don't want to eat anymore. And so it's really important for you to stay very steadfast. Sometimes people are strong enough to be able to do it in their environment and make those changes and say, no, I'm not eating that anymore. I'm not drinking that anymore. And you will have some people that are very supportive of you. But I will tell you, though, that a lot of times you won't, because when you start to change, that means that other people have to face their own stuff. And unless somebody's very secure about how they eat, what they eat, and they're totally 100% fine with it, they will have no problem with you doing your thing, because as long as you're not telling them what to do. But not everybody's that way. So a lot of people will try to bring you back to what they do so that they can feel better about themselves. Oh, what? Just one drink's not going to hurt. What's the big deal? You're just
one cheeseburger.
Exactly.
Because that's my weakness.
This is why the why is important, because you have to look at it and say, is my environment playing a role? Are the people that are in my life playing a role? Maybe I don't want to replace every single person in my life, but maybe I just want to get new people to come in that share my lifestyle ideas or my thought, my mindset, or something like that. And then I can hang out with them a little bit more so that I continue to grow. Because when we look at the why, the next question is, are any of the whys preventing us from growing? And what can we do about the why? That's where, Gladiator Guru was talking about the how comes in. The how means that, well, maybe how am I going to change this? Well, I might have to get a different job. I might have to break off this relationship. I might have to, join a gym. I might have to learn how to cook better. I might have to budget my money better and get assistance because I'm really not good at this. It's really just coming to that realization of, this is who I am. This is why I am. And what am I now going to do about this? If I don't want to be this person anymore, and I know that this is what contributed to it, what changes do I need to make in my life to be able to move forward and create the person that I really want to become?
You can, the dynamics of us is great. And I try to be more, what's that word I'm looking for? Because I barely use it. I need to be more badass. I need to be
discerning, compassionate,
more compassionate, have more empathy for people who aren't there yet. And I apologize in advance for anyone that I offend. But Badass Buddha's correct when she says some people are affected by their environment. And then I believe that it's all about you and what you believe in with yourself, because you cannot always point fingers at people, places, and things outside of you. But they're both right. Why? Because I think when you decide to fully invest in who you are, but trust yourself, when you cultivate that self-trust, that self-belief, that self-respect, doesn't matter how you had to crawl through the dirt and get all muddy. That doesn't matter. It matters where you are now. You did all that to get to where you are today. So with that, where did you drop off the courage when you rose out of that and you're here today? Where did you drop it off that people, places, and things are still affecting you? Because it takes courage to get out of the trenches from childhood. Like she said, we the things we allowed to come into us, that being raised with alcoholic, dysfunctional, violent parents, could have led me anyway.
Yeah.
It did lead me somewhere, because my husband, who passed away, was the first one that told me that I was an abuser. So there are things that we are sidetracked because it's what we attributed, but we're at an age now that we really got to sit in peace with ourselves, even though the world is chaotic around us, even though your relationship is total chaos and it's going to the shits, or whatever's going on in your life. Find a spot and sit in your peace and reevaluate what is not working for you, but you don't know how to let it go. Because people, places, and things can affect you. Because I think we use that as a crutch, as an excuse. And sometimes it does happen, but all the time, I don't think so. And remember that people, places, and things are things outside of you. Everything you need to heal and learn is within you. So although we're all guilty of blaming our environment, because there are places that I know I'm at, and it's like I can walk in all happy, floating on air, and then it's like, what the fuck? So it's true. Everything Badass Buddha says is factual. But what I'm saying is, that's like, why do we continue to allow people, places, and things to disrupt our peace and take away our power? When people cannot force you to do anything. Places will make you comfortable, happy as fuck, or the most uncomfortable, that you just want to shrink into the dirt or become a freaking weed. And things do not make you. They might make you look good for a moment. But if a house burns down, are you going to run in and try to collect your things, or you're just happy that all the living things are out? So it's like, where do you place your importance? Out of people, places, and things, guess who's the most important? You. And all those other things are outside of you. If you believe in God, then you got to believe that you are worthy, that you were born on purpose, that you have a purpose, that you came to this, that you're living now, and you came to this realm because you got work to do. So if we're too busy blaming, they did that, and that's why I'm like this, then what is your purpose? How are you here to help people? So you know what, the dynamics of Dr. Lori and I are exactly what it is. She's going to tell you what the majority of society is, because it's a fact. And I'm going to tell you, let's get the fuck out of it. Let's break down the doors and get out, because we all have what it takes to stand on our own 2 feet. Do you want to do it? The question is.
Right.
I'm
exactly.
done.
Life is too short, I mean, and we the longer we sit there and blame past and say, well, it was because of this, and we have to celebrate the parts of us that we know are strong. Like, if you've gotten through something, and even though you might be bruised, wounded, have all kinds of scrapes, you got through it, so you have resilience. And now you have to honor yourself with that resilience. Getting back to the conversation before I went out to the bus stop, when we were talking about falling off the bike, it's true. Our generation was taught to just get up. Just get up. Don't you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Why are you crying?
And studies have shown that there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. In fact, that builds quite a bit of resilience, because saying, listen, you got it. Listen, you're good. You're good. Just get up. But it's belittling, like when somebody, oh, you're just such a wuss, like, well, you're such a baby, look at you crying, blah, blah, blah. And when you look back, and if that was how you were raised, you need to understand that when people do stuff like that to another person that is down, and they want to just make you feel like crap, that's because that is who they are. But that doesn't have to be who you are. So you look at that and say, okay, what did I learn from this? I learned to be resilient and stand up for myself. Okay, maybe I wasn't always the strongest, and maybe I did get pushed around a lot because of some of those past experiences. But now I can change things. I could say, you know what, that wasn't okay. I would never treat my children or my grandchildren like that. I will say, come on, get up. You're good. You're good. You're gonna scrape your knee when you fall off that bike. That's that's what's going to happen. You've got to learn to move past that, but not belittle them and say, oh, that's just because you can't do anything right and blah, blah, blah. That type of behavior to me is BS. And when I hear it come out of somebody's mouth, it's not a question of, oh, that's going to make them tougher. That's a question of, you're just doing that because you're trying to make yourself feel better about yourself. You could say, hey, listen, come on, get up. You could do this. Come on, get up. You don't have that. It hurts. I know, but get up. You're better than that. So you gotta look at all those things that have happened to you in your life. And then you've got to say, you know what, this worked. This didn't, this pushed me. I mean, I remember when I used to do karate as a kid, I was the only girl in the class and it was all boys. And this one kid was a year younger than me, but he was very competitive with me. Like he just, whenever we would spar, he would purposely kick me in the shin. And even though we had shin guards on, it still hurt like hell. And I remember the good thing is that the guys that were assisting the class, the brown belts, the older guys, they would encourage me. So I remember a couple of times where we would be sparring and the kid purposely kicked me in the shin. And I mean, it hurt so badly. And I started to cry because it hurt, you know, and one of the guys like pulled me aside and he says, come on, you can do this. Come on, just kick his ass. Like he wanted me to take that anger that I had for being hit and getting that cheap shot and lace into the kid. And it really helped because I was never raised that way. You know, I was raised with parents who always stepped back, who always backed down. And then to have somebody sit there and say, no, it's okay. It's like, it's okay for you to get pissed off because that's something to get pissed off about. And it's okay for you to go back at him. And so I became really good at sparring because I went right back at him. And then I ended up winning and kicking his ass, you know, putting him in his place. And I really appreciated that because I might not have done it enough in my adult life, but I still go back to those moments to say, you know, I did have it in me and I did have people that were putting me in that direction. I just didn't have enough belief in myself to believe that I could keep being that person, that I could still be a nice person, a kind person, a liked person, but stand my ground, have boundaries. It took me till I was in my late 40s or like 50 years old to come to the conclusion that I could still be the good person that I want to be, the nice person, but still say no and still say I'm not okay with that. And that was a big game changer for me because that is not my why. Like that is not, I didn't become that person because of my whys when I was raised. So I had to change that and I had to be okay with that. So if I can do that, anybody can do that.
Well, yeah, because I think, you know, studies, they lie. A lot of those studies are it's like everything else America's feeding us right now. Anyway, your sister's comment, we were taught to get up because the previous generation survived wars and the Great Depression and wanted us to learn to be a survivor. Amen, Leanne. The generations after ours are not survivors and entitled, the complete opposite. What happens when all the handouts and luxuries are wiped away and we are placed in another world war? Absolutely. Let me tell you something. My father, growing up in Father Panic Village, we used to fight, right? And I remember I had very long hair.
Correct.
And we went outside and my father, I go upstairs and I was crying. He said, what happened? And I said, they pulled my hair. And he said, what you do? And I said, nothing. He said, if you don't get downstairs and fight and teach people they do not hit you, I'm going to kick your ass. My father never hit me. But we stood our ground until all the girls in Father Panic Village knew that these Puerto Ricans weren't about that life. And then friendships developed. Growing up with my mother loved Elvis Presley. Far back, and if any of my sisters are on, confirm. My mother had Elvis Presley's bust on a pedestal when you walked in the house. his velvet paintings all over. She even had somebody make a bar with his 2 guitars on it and everything. So growing up, the joke between my 2 sisters and I is we thought our father was Elvis and our name was Bitch. And we laugh about it. It's like, whatever. My mother never like really hit us open here, but she used to pick us up by our ponytail. Like, what the fuck did I tell you? And blah, blah. And you know, that never bothered me out of my childhood. It was all the other stuff. And your daddy, that's right. And the thing is that, you know, we're all born with something, a fire within us. And then either we become too afraid at any age in our primal years, the beginning part of our years. We become afraid because of what we're seeing, what's happening, and what we hear, that we extinguish that fire. And then we reach an age, 30, 40 years later, we're like, what happened? Well, it had to be because of this, this, and that. And sometimes our parents are the biggest fuck-ups in our lives, but they're also the biggest blessings. And within their fuck-ups is where we find the blessing. And that's where our courage and strength really comes from. So I'm saying to you, no matter how you live, because who are we to say was right or wrong?
Right.
But where you are today is what matters. So try
Right.
to get information from as much as you can. And that's why, again, I say that I love when we have shows where Lori and I are sharing totally opposite types of information. She's passionate about hers because that's how she learned it when she says she learned it. And I'm very passionate about mine because it was 6 years old is when I first realized my insight, the gift of insight that I had. And you know what? Did I make wise choices? Hell no. Did I get myself in trouble? Hell yeah.
Me too.
With my bats, walking up to people's houses, going to the greens, asking a bunch of guys, hey, do you know where the bitch who owns this car lives? Which one's her door? Walking up to people's houses who I heard were doing stuff out there. And then, you know what? I would never change how I lived in my past. I just won't do it going forward because nobody is worthy of my peace. Nobody, not at this age. This is my favorite age, the best season of my life, the second half of my life. Life is short, but it's the longest journey you will live. So decide to get rid of those old habits. You know, those patterns. Cut them up, rip them up, put them in the shredder, bid adieu to it. Let's start living your best life. And that means you're going to have to evict certain people from your mind and your heart that have caused you to stay stagnant all these years. You're going to have to evict behaviors. You're going to have to eliminate many things out of your life for you to say, I deserve this life that I'm living right now. Go through that memory bank and start deleting files. Bloop, bloop, permanently. Because if not, then who are you and what legacy are you going to leave for your children and your grandchildren? That right there should motivate you to get yourself out of your own ass and say, I'm better than this. I deserve better. Not everybody was raised the same. And not everybody who was raised in terrible conditions turned out terrible. And not everybody that was raised in the best conditions came out to be kind and generous. And I know we've all met those type of people. It's those in-betweeners that know, that struggled, that survived, that woke up one day and said, you know what? I was holding on to a lot of shit, and why? That wasn't even my issue, and move forward. Because you know what? You got to get those scissors and keep them sharp, and you got to cut when it comes to that. Friends, family, lovers, husbands, whatever, whoever is disrupting your peace and taking your power and put you down when you come up with ideas, who doesn't share the same passions for life going forward. Those are the people that are going to keep you sitting on the benches all your life because you're allowing it. So let's figure out where we want to go, how we're going to do it, and ultimately because we want to. So only you can drive yourself to happiness.
Nice. All right. Well, that's a beautiful way to end. And next week, we're going to be talking about breaking the cycle. Tuesday and Thursday, part 1 and 2. We're going to be talking about how to change these behaviors and habits. what the steps that you can take, how you can work on yourself to do this. So we're going to give you a lot of information in those 2 days of how to do this. And you find the things that work best for you. That's the whole point. We're going to give you so many different types. Doesn't even mean that those are necessarily the things that we've done. But if it's worked for somebody else, it may work for you, right? So what works, you have to find what works for you. And I think that's where people really, really like drop off and don't bother, because they say things like, well, I tried that, but it didn't work. Well, then that just wasn't the thing that worked for you. And that doesn't mean it won't work for you at a different level of your growth. So this is about what Gladiator Guru said, is it's about just saying, okay, you know what, that's it. This is my time, and I'm making these changes, not just for myself, but to affect the people that I love, whether it's my children or grandchildren.
Mhm.
Because if I don't break this cycle now, that cycle is just going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating. And I am no way in hell going to stand for that in my life, let alone the generations behind me.
Yeah, because we know the pains that come with it, and the resentment of self. So you know what? Leanne wrote something. I'm sorry that I don't get to read the notes. My father always told me never start a fight, but you better be the one to finish strong. I love your daddy, because that's how we were raised.
And that's funny, because I don't remember him ever saying that to me.
Even if you think you are not able to defeat the person picking on you, if you fight back, that person would think twice about challenging you again. Let me tell you something, Leanne.
He never told me
My father
that.
always said, never show them you're afraid. You can be shitting bricks, but never show it. And he always said, if you're ever in a situation and someone's like messing with you, but their person who told them to mess with you is the bigger one standing in the back, go straight to that big one and hit them as hard as you can. Get your ass beat, but do it with dignity. And you're absolutely right. That is the same advice we got. If you're going to lose with pride, that you stood up for yourself. Because fighting, to us, we were never raised that winning the fight meant you were better. It was about standing and fighting to defend yourself. That was all it took. It didn't matter who beat you up or who you beat up. So Iris said, I'm loving the word, not just learning it. And just learning it. And I feel so much better. Got my mother and aunt had to fight a lot, and Father Panic had to pave the way for us not to be messed with. Exactly. As your mothers are my cousins. Petey, your daddy. And then Leanne said something. I had plenty of fights as a kid, especially with a girl that we were, Leanne, that's why I love you. Okay, with that, it was a great show. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Well, have a great weekend. Again, if you haven't done any of these things, that your who and your why, sit with it this weekend. Again, it's all about your peace. So if you are not feeling at peace, you have to come to terms of why that's happening and what needs to be done about it. And then we'll start next week. We're going to start showing you what you must do to change those behaviors and habits that are no longer serving you. So thanks, everyone, for coming on. Have an absolutely great weekend. And from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from who am I? The Gladiator Guru. I was going to say Badass Buddha. Remember to breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.